It's Blu-ray haul time again, and weirdly smaller than usual.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're going to be going over all the Blu-rays I picked up between January and March of 2026. Usually they're bigger than this, but this was kind of interesting, so I can talk a little bit longer about some of these releases. But let's get to it. We got some cool stuff to take a look at, so if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads, and hit the hype button if it's available to you. Let's begin the Blu-ray haul. This time I'm actually going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to go alphabetically by publisher, because basically all of this is movies outside like 2 TV shows. So I was like, alphabetically by publisher is the way we're going to do it this time around. So as always, we're starting off with things that already have their own video, which was this Discotek media roundup I did of recent releases. Alright, let's start off with Arrow Video and their limited edition release of Westworld. Now this is an iconic film for a lot of reasons. First of all, the basic idea of Westworld is that in a near future, entertainment has become such a commodified effort that in order to make things really realistic and real, you can experience all kinds of things with robot duplicates of humans. And so one of the worlds in Westworld is the western town where the gunfighter is there. But the reality behind having a whole livable theme park and immersive experience is that something inevitably will go wrong. And that's kind of what happens in this film. This did spawn a pretty popular HBO series that I never saw, but I'm a big fan of the original film. And this is a great release. This is absolutely a terrific release. So not only do we have, of course, the wonderful packaging and the absolute metric ton of bonus features that Arrow Video always provides, but the picture quality is fantastic, the audio quality is excellent, and of course the physical bonuses are amazing. If you've never seen the movie and you just want to blind buy it, by all means. I mean, this is great. It's a great film, but yeah, if you've been looking for a really solid release of it, this is literally, they've never seen anything better. And that's always, like, I think the fun part about these boutique labels getting more licenses from the big studios is that we're getting releases that are better than we've ever had, and probably ever will. Like, this feels like a golden moment, and I like that we're taking advantage of it. Of course, you also get a poster, which has... It's dual-sided, so you got the new packaging art, or the new cover art that was done for the Arrow release, right, on one side. And then the other side has the original poster art, which I always love. And then we, of course, get the booklet, and the booklet is wonderfully creepy. Love the snake, love the robot snake on one side, and the robot gunfighter on the other. This is really expansive. Like, just like all the Arrow booklets, you get pictures, you get essays, you get all kinds of depth and detail, which is always nice to see. I've never been disappointed by an Arrow Video release, and this is definitely no different. I always sing their praises because I always enjoy their releases. I'm hoping they can get Future World, the sequel to this, because I thought Future World was interesting, especially because, you know, it's like, oh, what happens after? Interestingly enough, there was a short-lived Westworld TV series from the 70s, or the 80s, and they actually put the pilot episode, the first 48-minute pilot episode of the TV show follow-up on this release. And I found that quite interesting. So I was like, oh. And that was a show that lasted, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes. It was really shortly lived. But I love that they included part of that on this, because that honestly could get lost to time pretty easily, because who's going to release that whole thing? But I'm glad at least part of it is in here. And yeah, I'm hoping they get to do Future World. I'd really love to see the sequel also put out by Arrow, because they just... Again, they just do terrific stuff. All right, let's move on to Disney. Everybody's mad at Disney right now, mostly self-inflicted. And I do mean in the home video space, but there's other, you know, parts of the space that they're mad at Disney. And I don't mean this in, like, you know, a crazy, like, "Rawr, they ruined my childhood," like, grifter way. I mean in that the home video market for Disney releases has been insanely bleak. I did a video on this very recently about the Disney Plus releases and how they vanished. And then there's also, like, the issue that we're going to talk about with the next release of availability. So, like, even of the few releases they do end up doing, availability has been an issue. Doesn't seem like Tron Ares has that problem, probably because Tron Ares wasn't that well received by the general public. I enjoyed it. It certainly, you know, wasn't as good as the previous 2 Tron films in my eyes, but I enjoyed it. The overall film itself, I think, had a lot of really cool stuff going for it. In terms of a steelbook release, naturally you look at this and you're like, wow, that's pretty. But of course, it was the follow-up to, does it match the steelbooks? And it does. They went with a very consistent design across the board for Tron, Tron Legacy, and Tron Ares. And I think they look beautiful. I think they all parallel to each other. I like how, you have the identity disc at the center of all of it, and then the lead characters of each movie, even though they threw in a cameo character here. Kind of crazy, but I like that there's light cycles along the bottom. I like the consistency. You can see the grids. Each grid is in each of the frames. I think it looks really cool. Also, of course, spine-wise, it's excellent as well. They matched it up. It's it's pretty. It's the closest I've ever seen out of a Disney spine release, and honestly, it looks really good. So there's that. Now, in terms of the release itself, I mean, the film's presented quite well. Unfortunately, like a lot of recent Disney films, the IMAX scenes are exclusive to Disney+, so the IMAX aspect ratio for those shots are not on the Blu-ray, which is a bummer because Tron Legacy had its IMAX shots, but Disney gonna Disney. Other than that, the bonus features are serviceable, but nothing in depth, nothing with crazy detail that you might want to see. The deleted scenes are nice inclusions, but there is some stuff we've seen some people that worked on the film that isn't included. So it's kind of like your standard modern Disney release, which means it's not bad by modern Disney releases, but it does I think make everybody want a little bit more in this day and age, because I feel like the big studio releases are just going super bare bones now, and that's really unfortunate. All right, so a bunch of people are going to be furious I have this. No, this is actually a problem. Zootopia 2 was released by Disney on multiple formats. From what I know, the 4K is only included in the Steelbook edition, and then the Steelbook wasn't printed in enough quantities to the point where people were getting pre-order cancellations. I'm sorry, but how stupid of a company is Disney that they can't put out Zootopia 2, let's look at the highest grossing movie they had last year, it's still making money, and yet they underprinted it? Like, it's decisions like these, and I know that like Sony's handling the distribution of the discs, but Disney still calls all the shots from everything I've heard. It's decisions like this that make me just question, well, what's the point, right? What's the point of making Zootopia 2 on 4K scarce? I think the other formats you can still get easier, but like, what is the point of making this scarce? You would sell a bunch of more copies if you just made it available. The false scarcity tactic has never made sense to me from a business sense. There is, I do get the idea of like, oh, you make something hard to get, and then when you flood the market with stock later, everybody buys it up because they're like, oh, I couldn't get that thing before, and it like creates FOMO. But without a restock, that doesn't do anybody any good. Luckily, my pre-order came through, but I was one of the lucky ones. The way that Disney's been handling home video, again, Sony's producing the disc, but Disney calls all the shots from everything I know. It's very confusing and baffling, and I don't understand it. This should be available. There should also be a standard 4K release of Zootopia 2. It shouldn't only be in the Steelbook. But, also it does have more bonus features than Tron Ares, because the animated stuff does seem to get a little bit more love, which is always appreciated. Still missing commentaries. I would love more commentaries, but yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that I just don't quite understand, is this idea of like, oh, if you missed it, too bad. And it's like, you literally would make more money if you just made more. It wouldn't even be that much business overhead, especially because Disney, you're not even producing them yourselves. That's Sony doing the production. So why not you just let them make more discs? Well, in the opposite of false scarcity, there's Kino Lorber, where I always feel like all the releases are always available, kind of magically so. Kino Lorber was having a sale at Barnes & Noble, and so we had some picks. My mom actually, I think my mom picked most of these. We got Foul Play, starring Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase. Goldie Hawn is hilarious in this movie. So this is a heck of a film. It is an absurd comedy. It's one of those movies where you're watching it and you're never exactly sure where it's going to go. But she is like basically going through this whole thing. People are trying to kill her and she's trying to escape, and then she runs into all these other people, and it's just fun. It's just a blast. I enjoy the heck out of it. It's one of those movies where it's like, you don't know when you start where that journey is going to go, but when you get to the end, you're like, oh, that's like one of my favorite movies ever. And honestly, it is. I really, really was enjoyable. And mostly, Goldie Hawn is just absolutely hilarious in this in particular. I think she is the absolute standout highlight with this. It does have a commentary with entertainment journalists and authors, a bonus feature on Colin Higgins, and then some theatrical trailers and TV spots. That's the thing with Kino. They don't always pack them with a ton of bonus features because a bunch of the movies they get never had pre-existing ones, and they don't really produce that many new ones, but they always get a commentary on there. I can't think of too many Kino releases that don't have a commentary of some kind, and that is always awesome because those commentaries are very insightful from a historical perspective, and that's kind of your behind the scenes a lot of the times with films in the let's film the behind the scenes era of filmmaking, because before TV would promote stuff and you need behind the scenes footage, they just didn't film any behind the scenes stuff. So it's nice to get whatever you can with older films. All right, we got Sabrina with Humphrey Bogart, Audrey Hepburn, and William Holden. I would put Audrey Hepburn top billing on this one just because, she's the title character. Anyways, produced and directed by Billy Wilder. This is a classic as well. They've done some remakes on this too. This is like not the only time this story's been told. But I really enjoy it. I thought it was really fun. This one's really stacked. Like I just said, Kino doesn't always stack them, but this one has stuff to go with. So there's 2 different commentaries with historians and writers. There's featurettes on Audrey Hepburn and then Sabrina itself, and there's a thing about William Holden and Paramount, and there's a behind the things featurette and Paramount 50s and a documentary on Sabrina. It's pretty stacked. And I really thought it was really nice that there was this much. Also, we got alternate cover art there. It's really cool when you have, I don't know why I keep doing that, it's just like a weird thing I'm doing. It's really cool to have this film on 4K. It's really nice to have a good transfer of it. And if you've never checked it out and you're like, I need to go through more classic films, I'm going to put this one on the list for you because it is really fun. Also, it is a nice comedy as well, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. All right, here's a classic Western, Shane. This one, this is one of those, like, you watch a movie and then it just sticks with you. I think I'm checking for alternate cover. That's why I keep pulling these off, because I'm like, oh, does this have an alternate cover? Shane is one of those Westerns that, sticks with you after a while. It's referenced a lot. It's given a lot of love. It's got its place in cinema history for sure. It's got 6 Academy Award nominations in 1953. And then it's great. It's in color for a 53 film. It's not very common. You got 2 different audio commentaries on this and the trailer. It's just great. There's not much to say. It's hard to say like, oh, like why is it great? But it's like sometimes you do just watch a movie that everybody says is great and you're like, oh, yeah, it just is. Speaking of Yentl, Yentl's pretty great. This is one of my mom's favorite films. This was Barbra Streisand stars, directs, and wrote this. This is like the Barbra Streisand full passion project film. Like, look how many times her name shows up in these credits. This is an MGM release put out by Warner Brothers. You're probably like, why are you showing me a DVD? It's a Blu-ray haul. Because for some reason, I'll talk about Yentl in a minute, but for some reason, the Blu-ray release of Yentl was like limited edition of like 3,000 units like 10 years ago and never reprinted since. And I don't understand that. I think it's pretty famous. Deadpool referenced Yentl. Like, I feel like it's a movie that should be out there. I kind of feel like it's almost inevitable that there would be like a Kino or a Criterion or something. Like somebody's got to be tackling this, right? There's certainly enough features on here. It's MGM. MGM did just sign MGM under Amazon ownership just signed a deal with Alliance. Maybe Alliance will do it. I like Yentl using another release. I think it's crazy. There's a couple movies that are like very iconic and yet have these very limited Blu-ray prints and then never again. And it's Yentl. It's 9 to 5. And there's like a couple others I can't think of off the top of my head. And I'm like, why are these not getting the proper treatment? It baffles me. Also, this does contain an extended cut of the film, since Barbra Streisand very famously keeps all the stuff she films. So she actually had all the deleted scenes that were cut from the movie for runtime. And so they're actually stitched back into the film. There's audio commentary by her, as well as a ton of bonus features on the second disc. The thing that struck me most about this movie is that it bleeds passion, right? Like, Barbara is very passionate about telling the story, about getting this movie made. She worked to get it made for years, and she directed it as well. And you can just, like, when you're watching a movie that is made with pure passion, you can see it and you can feel it. You can feel the passion. I think the story's fun. The story is basically, it's a Jewish woman who, at the time, the women were not allowed to study. They weren't allowed to read. But she really wants to study. She really wants to read. And after her father passes away, she pretends to be a man and goes to study because that's what she wants to do. And it's very fun because it gets very messy from there on out. It's kind of like, when I was watching with my mom, I kept pausing a couple moments and I was just like, well, in this situation, Mulan would have used a sword. And it's kind of like, it has like kind of the shades of Mulan in some ways, but in some ways not, because in a lot of ways, this is Yentl's, like, she has full agency over the situation, whereas Mulan was kind of doing it for her family. This is what she wants to do. And I just thought, like, it's fun. It's got a lot of light moments. It's also a musical, but it's a very interesting musical because none of the songs, well, not really, but pretty much all the songs are happening in her head. She's not singing the songs out loud. It's not a musical ensemble thing. It's just Barbara Streisand's character of Yentl. And so she'll kind of sing in her head, and you'll hear it like an inner monologue type thing. And that's where the songs are inserted into it. It's very, very cool. And then also the cinematography is incredible. There's just really great color usage, some really insane camera moves, especially at the end. Like, the last scene of the movie has this tracking shot that's just bonkers. And it's just so cool. As a film nerd, as a fan of stories in general, I just really enjoyed it. And I thought that you could just see the meticulous nature that went into producing the movie, and I think that's just amazing. Anyways, there's a ton of bonus features on it. If you're someone who loves this movie and is like, why do we not have a better version of it? I also would ask that question because I feel like, again, this is a layup for any of the boutique labels to do. Because I definitely would buy it again. We bought this DVD also because my mom was listening to the audiobook of Barbara Streisand's memoir. And there was a whole 2 chapters dedicated just to this movie. And my mom was like, I need to watch this movie again. And I was like, okay. And I was like, do we have the DVD? And she's like, probably. I don't know where it is. I'm like, cool. I'm just going to buy a new one because it's a DVD at $10. And so we got to watch it. And I was like, wow, incredible movie. Really incredible movie. All right. So if you think I've been complaining too much, too bad. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. So this is the only Paramount release we got here. Paramount's been, they've been going through some stuff. New ownership that I've not been a fan of so far. Do not like the people in charge of Paramount right now. Do not like a lot of the decisions they're making. One of the decisions that was made was kind of they do these weird things. Like, for example, Strange New World Season 3, which we now have on a 4K Steelbook, looking beautiful. I'll just pop it open. If wondering my thoughts on the season, thought it was a mixed bag. I thought some episodes were really good. Thought a couple episodes were borderline offensive. There were some stinkers this season, which is kind of a shame because Strange New Worlds have been having a pretty good track record, but I feel like a couple of these episodes just kind of lost the plot. Anyways, I did enjoy it overall though, but it was probably my least favorite season of the show. This release was here, stickers. And I'll talk about the Star Trek 60th sticker in a minute because there's stickers, and it's 60th anniversary. All right, so where are we at with Star Trek? Because I'm insanely disappointed right now. So first of all, the thing when you make a TV show and you're going to end a TV show, maybe don't announce it so far in advance because the thing was, before Season 3 aired of Strange New Worlds, we already heard that they're ending it with Season 5. And we already heard that Paramount wanted to end it with Season 4, and the showrunners negotiated for 6 extra episodes so that the show could have a finale season. So the bummer part is that, you're about to watch Season 3, and you're like, oh man, the show's already over. And yet, you're not going to see the rest of the episodes for 2 more years. We're supposedly getting Season 4 this year, and we're probably getting Season 5 next year. But you're already kind of man, you're already mourning the show before you still got 16 episodes left, right? And then they did this again. Starfleet Academy got canceled. They did the cancellation a week and a half after filming wrapped, so they couldn't have shot a better finale. This is the thing that annoys me is like, if you're going to cancel a show, like, you know you're going to cancel a show. Like, there was nothing that changed at Paramount in the week and a half between when Academy finished filming and when the announcement was made. Like, they totally could have just told them, you're not getting a third season, wrap it up. And instead we might not get a, like, proper conclusion of the show. And also, I think that Academy should have gone 4 seasons. It's a school-based show. You should have 4 seasons of the show. And I really liked season 1. Season 1 of Academy, probably one of my favorite seasons of the modern Trek. But yeah, they already announced it's over, it's done, and I'm like, we still got another season that's not going to come out till next year. So it's like, wow, you just don't want people to watch your shows because you're already announcing their toast before, like, years before they air. Very weird decisions. Like, you think you would just kind of, like, you know, play the game a little bit and then be like, you know, before season 2, it's like, oh, it's the final season. And same with Strange New Worlds, like season 5 going around, oh, it's the final season. But we've been telegraphed in advance that we're getting 26 more episodes of Star Trek over this year and next year. And then we're not getting any more Star Trek. And I don't say that hyperbolically. I mean, there is nothing in production for Star Trek, which, you know, it's happened before, you know, post-Enterprise. You know, there was this like 5 years before we got the Kelvin movies. It's just weird that Paramount's like, you know, and Skydance, you know, owning Paramount's like, we got this new ownership and things are going great. One of our major IPs and one of the only valuable things to Paramount is essentially dead in the water. Because, yeah, they announced that they're working on a movie, but that movie doesn't have a filming date. Any of the other shows that have been pitched haven't been greenlit. The only thing that's been greenlit is the movie, but it's still only in the development stage. It's not even in pre-production. So happy 60th anniversary. You're getting 26 more episodes, and you may never see anything again, because I don't know the state of Paramount's financials, especially with them trying to buy Warner Brothers, and a lot of people going, do they actually have the money to do this? And maybe they're waiting for that all to shake out, but I got to tell you that my faith in current Paramount leadership is next to zero, and it's just a bummer that we're essentially counting the days left of what Star Trek is for a while. And, you know, the sad part, too, is you know, Paramount, you know, has been canceling a lot of shows. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got the axe. You know, everything, like almost everything on Nickelodeon that's not SpongeBob got the axe. A bunch of shows have just been canceled left and right. And so it's not Star Trek exclusive, but, you know, it does make me wonder how you're supposed to run a streaming service if you have nothing on it. So, yeah, I don't get their business moves, and I'm kind of sad that, you know, the shows that I've been enjoying are axed. All right, switching over to Universal, Wicked for Good was released on Steelbook and Blu-ray and all that. Beautiful cover. This was one of the posters for the film, which I thought was excellent. I love the bubble dividing them. Wicked for Good, of course, being the second part of the Wicked musical, but of course in movie form. I liked it. I think I probably liked the first one more. Part 2, kind of depressing, a little messy at times. Some kind of strange editing choices. Like there's a couple like characters where I'm like, why did we not see more of them? But I liked it overall. I did. I think that, you know, when you take, and I did do a back-to-back marathon with my mom one night. We watched both back-to-back. When you take them both together, I think it's actually a really solid experience. I think the films are gorgeous. They look great. There's a lot of, you know, especially having them on 4K, having the right TV settings, making everything look nice. They look really good. Music's really fun. It's a fun take on The Wizard of Oz. It really is. And yeah, it's kind of at the end. And I don't need a sequel. You know, I don't need a continuation. We don't need to adapt the other books. I think this is like a perfect pairing of films. Interestingly, they didn't do like a combo set. I thought they may have done like a fancy combo set, maybe thrown in the live music TV special they did, but maybe that'll come in the future. But for now, you know, 2 steelbooks, nice parallels there. Really do like these movies quite a bit. And yeah, good times. Okay, next up, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. This is exciting because it's a Netflix show. Not on Netflix, but on Blu-ray. That's because it was produced by Universal. But Scott Pilgrim Takes Off was fantastic. I love this. This was a very interesting thing because when they announced this, it seemed like, okay, it's going to be an adaptation of the Scott Pilgrim story. They got the voice cast from the live-action movie, and they're going to do it in the art style of the comic. And that's kind of how they advertised it. Episode 1 takes a turn. This is actually a sequel. And so I actually loved how this turned out. Because basically you can use this as a sequel if you've watched the movie. It rolls as a sequel to that. If you've read the comic, it rolls as a sequel to that. And then the Scott Pilgrim EX video game is a sequel to this show, which I kind of like that every little thing in Scott Pilgrim's universe is a different medium. Like, you know, chapter 1 is comic, chapter 1 is a comic, and then there's an adaptation of a movie and a video game. And then like the chapter 2 of the story is a really beautifully Science Starter animated Netflix series. And then chapter 3 is a video game. So it's kind of cool the way that the story has continued. But this has all 8 episodes on it. It also features commentaries with Brian Lee O'Malley, original creator, and then producer Ben David Grabinski. So you get commentaries on all the episodes, which is great. So we actually do have bonus features. Excellent release. Video audio quality is superb, as you would expect. It's a modern anime show on disc. The only thing that's a bummer is it does include the Japanese dub, which is really nice. It's got the English dub, but it's also got the Japanese dub. But then it only has English closed captionings. So yes, it does have dub titles. I went and checked on Netflix, and Netflix has the same thing. But the difference is on Netflix, you can watch English closed captioning or just English subtitles. And English subtitles will just do the dialogue, or the closed captioning will add all like the words and sound effects and stuff. So that's the only difference, but it is the same script. So on Netflix, it is also dub titles, which is the case with a lot of Netflix stuff. I noticed this watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I was watching it in Japanese, and I was like, okay, well, some of this language usage wouldn't translate from Japanese. And some people would say, like, why is that an issue? It's not really an issue with something like this, where it was produced in English first. I don't have a problem with it as much with, again, something that was made to be produced in English, like this was. But it's an issue when it comes to translation, because when you're doing an English dub of a Japanese show, right? If it was produced in Japanese originally, they're going to have, like, phrases and inflections and tone. And then the dub's going to have to change it because they're matching lip flaps. They're not matching exact word for word. They have to match the lip flaps of the animation. And so they do that. And so, an English closed captioning track is going to match whatever the English dub is saying, which matches the lip flaps, versus the Japanese version, which has a different script. So with a show like this, again, because it was written and designed to be with an English cast first, it's not as big of an issue because it is the original intention there. But when you have other shows that are dubbed into English but originally produced in Japanese, you sort of lose something. It's always a bummer because, I think a lot of companies aren't aware that you need to have different subtitle tracks. And so for this, obviously Universal putting it out on disc, they just took what was on Netflix, right? They just took the English subs off Netflix, included them. But there's not, a separate track for the Japanese audio. But the fact we got any other audio besides English, I'll also take as a win. That being said, once again, doesn't bother me as much simply because this was originally intended to be with English audio. And so it's got that covered, and it's got closed captioning for the hearing impaired. So I think overall a win, plus the commentaries. The dub titles don't kill this release for me at all. Something like Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex having dub titles, that's an issue. More on this in the future. I want to do a whole video about dub titles. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a good breakdown video at some point. All right, speaking of Netflix shows, here we have Castlevania Nocturne Season 2 from Viz Media. They've been putting out all of the Castlevania shows so far. And then, of course, Nocturne's no different. We got Season 1 not too long ago. And then here's Season 2. Sadly for me, and me in particular, because I really love this show, we haven't gotten a Season 3 announcement. Probably won't get one. The art book came out, and I was like, yeah, I think the show's done. I really like this one. I enjoyed the first Castlevania series. I liked Season 1 and 2 a whole lot. Wasn't a big fan of 3, but I did enjoy 4. But I do own the entire show. I thought it was a good adaptation in the sense of I watched it without any knowledge of the games, and I enjoyed it. Could get, the experience and the characters. So that's kind of like me. I'm not a big game player for Castlevania, so of course my opinion will be different than someone who has played the games. And I'm not going to say anything about that because, I'm a comic book fan. So when I watch comic book movies, I have a whole different opinion than people that don't read comics. But for me, I enjoyed this. I really like this. I think setting it around the French Revolution, I think kind of the storylines and the parallels, that they took to real life events was really cool. It kind of it fits my vibe. I love historical setting pieces. I love fantasy that's set in historical settings, so you have like grounding context. For some people, Richter's journey is a little frustrating because if you're a games fan, you kind of want to see Richter fully formed, but he goes through an arc in the show. He starts he kind of gets, kind of an origin story thing. And so by season 2, he's like kind of full Richter at that point. But in season 1, he's kind of getting his way to being that character. So again, that's me just not knowing the games super well. But as adaptations, I think it's TV shows. They're both excellent, but I do prefer Nocturne out of the two. And so I'm glad to have the entire thing on Blu-ray because, yeah, really like this show. So the nice part about Viz is a lot of their stuff stays in print for the really popular stuff like Naruto. So I was kind of catching up on Naruto. I got Naruto Shippuden Set 6. I don't buy these immediately because they do go on sale. What I like to do is I'll hit up the Target buy two, get one. And that'll give me a good deal on these. So this is episodes 138 to 165, plus storyboards, the art galleries and stuff. It's kind of the standard of what we've seen so far from Viz's releases. 4 discs. About 26 to 28 episodes, plus the Shippuden releases have been including these dual-sided art cards, which is really, really cool. So yeah, we've got this so far. We got 6. Here's Volume 7, which you can see we're starting to get to the Pain arc, which is 166 to 192. Here's a Volume 8 with Kakashi and Sakura. This is 193 to 220. And then the most recent one, which is Volume 9, which has 221 to 248. So with Shippuden being 500 episodes, this is at the halfway point. It's 2 episodes shy of the halfway point because they do try to scale them per arcs. So that way you're not if you're watching them as they come out, then you're not stuck in a weird gap. But there's 6 through 9. Let's bring in 1 through 5. There's going to be 18 in total for Shippuden. I'm hoping now that they've crossed the barrier into the native HD episodes, they'll keep pumping these out. So far, so good on that. I believe set 10's not too far off. I'm hoping they've been kind of keeping it on a schedule like 1 every 3 months, and that's pretty good. Would like to get to 1 every other month, but I know Blu-ray companies are having issues because disc replicators are backed up for a lot of reasons because there's less of them out there. But you can see the progression of the kunai is kind of telling us where we're at, which I like. They did this with the Shuriken on the original Naruto, but you can see we're right down here, and we've got 1 of these 2, so we're halfway there. And yeah, still buying these because I did watch every single episode of Naruto, and there's a bunch of filler in Shippuden that is just not worth watching. But I did enjoy the journey, and I do want to have the entire thing on Blu-ray because it looks really nice on a shelf as well. And then also what's cool is that they've been doing these new unique cover arts where every 4 of them connects together. So you can kind of see how Jiraiya runs, into Itachi, and Itachi's cloak is on the Naruto cover, and then the Hidden Leaf Village is into the Kakashi and Sakura cover. So that's pretty fun. And then as well we have this, which you can start to see that it's that's Zabuza's sword and Haku because they're on the next volume. So that'll continue. And also the double-sided art cards, I'll try to throw a picture up here because I know I took one. I think they've hit a spot. I think they're going to be 9 squared on the backside because the backside images are completely different than the front side images. The front side are just what's on the Blu-ray. But on the backside, I think it hit a point of it's probably the 9, and then there'll be the next 9 will have another image, which I think is cool. I like those bonuses like that. But really excellent sets and really affordable too. These things run $35 for 30 episodes, which is really good for anime. All right, let's do an older Warner Brothers release, Blazing Saddles on 4K. Picked this up. Barnes & Noble had a discount on it. Blazing Saddles is one of those movies. It's one of those movies that, oh my god, it is it's a media literacy test for a lot of people. There's a bunch of people that look at this movie and think it means one thing, and then there's a bunch of people that look at this movie and go yeah, it's actually satirizing the thing that you think it's going with. It's one of those movies too, everyone's you couldn't make this today, and it's yeah, you couldn't make it today. They already made it. It's called Blazing Saddles. It's a very is it broad comedy? It's it almost sometimes seems intentionally offensive, but they are, there's a lot of things that people talk about, the movies used to be like this, and it's yeah, you missed the point of the movie. But it's an iconic classic for a reason. All right, By the Light of the Silvery Moon, this is the other Doris Day and Gordon McRae movie. There was the previous one, was in the previous Blu-ray haul. Warner Archives just been pumping out movies lately. I'll take it. I like it. I also like that they, to make sure there's some bonus features, they include classic cartoons or comedy shorts, which were things that would have played before those movies originally. which I think is nice. So that's another nice one to add to the Warner Archive library. Speaking of libraries, Looney Tunes Collector's Vault Volume 2. I've been really enjoying the recent Looney Tunes collections. Here's what's included on this one. It's 50 cartoons. I think just like Collector's Vault Volume 1, the first disc is stuff that's not been released on disc before. And then disc 2 is upgrades to things that have been on disc before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the case. I've just been trying to collect all the Looney Tunes volumes I can. I do wish we could get like chronological sets, but, I'll take what we can get. Because selling cartoon shorts is a very niche market, but because these releases are so good, people are still buying them, and so always going to keep supporting these. It also includes commentaries on some of these with animation experts, which I think is excellent. Gives you a little bit more insight into the production of these shorts, but good stuff all around. Looking forward to whatever's coming next. So that was probably the smallest Blu-ray haul I've ever done, which is fine. I think it's good to kind of take it easy. You guys see the comic haul next week. Oh my God. So, it's good to take like a little bit of a breather. Next quarter is going to get crazy though. There's a bunch of cool stuff coming up. They're still announcing June releases. I'm very excited for a lot of what's coming up in the next haul. If you're excited and you don't want to miss out, hit subscribe and the notification bell. If you haven't already, hit the like button while you're down there. Leave any comments, tell me what you picked up as well. There's really some cool stuff coming up. I'm very excited. So we will have more in the future. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord server in the link below. You can also join as a channel member, get perks like early access to videos and special shoutouts. Let's give some special shoutouts to some of our channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including these Captain Tier members: Kyle A, 00711, Mojazz, Infinite 1985, Light Yagami, Tim Jekyll, Actual Lee, Super Robozilla Go, Movie Stash, Justice Outlaw 8468, Matthew Nichols, BAL, Guapo-san, The One Joe, and Gangshi. Thank you all for your support of this channel, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can also find my awesome graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at HeroClub.com for entertainment news and more. Until next time, this is Soundout saying, see you in the next haul.